Hello again, everyone. Zacatech is here with my TNA Impact Wrestling review for tonight. Thursday, June 27th, 2013. I missed it when I didn't see the first hour last week, so it's my first full review in a couple weeks. Tonight's Impact, of course, decent Impact tonight with the BFG series continuing on. A new member of the main event Mafia revealed. Plus, the X Division Championship was on the line to see who would cash in for an opportunity to face the TNA World Champion in Bully Ray in 2 weeks at Destination X. Actually, in 3 weeks. And plus, Suicide was unmasked this evening. We'll see what's up with that situation. And it's kind of a weird situation. I kind of had a sneaky suspicion after seeing what happened with the X Division Championship match. So we begin the evening with, of course, Main Event Mafia, who announced that a new member would be revealed this evening. Of course, the two members were revealed last week. Sting founded it, and Kurt Angle joined last week. Of course, reuniting the original two of the original four members of Main Event Mafia, the only two originals left. With Nash and Booker T out of WWE, back in WWE, the Angle and Sting kicked off by saying, yes, we're the Main Event Mafia, we're back in action, we're back in business, should we say. And we got a new member joining us tonight. They hired a few men, but we would see who would join them. Of course, the main criteria of the Main Event Mafia was then and now is that you have to be a former world champion, unless you're Matt Morgan. Because Matt Morgan joined and he wasn't a former world champion. And Charnel, Booker T's wife, well, she was a manager, so that kind of counted. So there you go. We would see who would join Angle and Sting later on in the evening. Can we just get some new guys in there? We saw who would join them. But I think we need some new blood. I'll comment about the Main Event Mafia situation when we find out who would be the new, I use that term loosely, new member of Main Event Mafia revealed. Now, on our first matchup, which was a triple threat match, a rematch from Slammiversary, without Ultra X being involved. It was, of course, for the X Division Championship. It was Great Saban defending against Kenny King, Suicide. Or we thought was Suicide. Now, the match, typical X Division spot fest, but it was a decent action-packed matchup. Pretty good, fast-paced action from all three competitors. There were some decent spots. Of course, the never-fail move of the Tower of Doom move. And some great flying moves from the competitors. So, like, all three men had advantage at one point. Like, every guy fought their best to get the shot, especially, like I said, since the winner of this match would be the one to, like someone did last year, cash in the X Division Championship for a shot at the world title. So the match proceeded on, and Aries, sorry, Saban kind of he did his big Hail Saban move until, of course, Kenny King came flying back with some big moves, and it was kind of a weird finish. The match, it was kind of a fast-paced matchup, like I kept saying. So great action, but it was kind of a big move from Mr. Kenny King was taking advantage at one point. And Kenny King was going for his big move a couple times, Warrior Flush, once or twice, but he finally tried to nail the Warrior Flush on Suicide. Suicide countered with a roll-up and a 1-2-3 victory for Suicide with a little help from the rope. And apparently Suicide became the new X Division champion. However, Hulk Hogan came out saying that this guy named TJ was the guy who was wearing the suit. The whole time he got attacked by someone and someone stole the suit and paraded as Suicide and won the X Division Championship tonight. Hogan gave Suicide, the man who was underneath the suit, to the end of the evening to reveal himself. Of course, he would. So we'd find out who that was later on in the evening. I said in my preview today, my attack line, this whole unmasking Suicide thing is kind of stupid because we would never know who was the real Suicide, who really wore the suit. Because there's reports of Kaz and Daniels. So this whole Unmasked Suicide thing is kind of a weird, silly storyline thing, but it kind of amps up the fact that the winner would have to face the world champion. And I developed clues throughout the evening. I had a sneaky suspicion on who it was. And I was correct. I kind of let the cat out of the bag. I accidentally said his name a while ago. If you can catch it. When you replay this video and then you catch it back, I kind of let loose his name accidentally. See if you can catch that. So we find out who would be Suicide, who was underneath the suit, who paraded around the Suicide, kidnapping the guy who wore it. Later on in the evening, we'll find out who it was and who would indeed have the chance to cash in the X Division Championship for a title match against the World Champ Bully Ray. Now on to our next matchup, which was the Gut Check Challenge. We had Rock and Roll Guy Wyatt Hal taking on Adam O'Reilly, a.k.a. The Big O. Of course, the man known for being on Zack Ryder's internet show, Z, Two Long Island Story, has been wrestling in the indies. And apparently I've been reading reports about him allegedly auditioned for WWE, and also I knew he was part of this Gut Check thing. I knew he was part of the Gut Check Challenge. I kind of knew that, and he won it, so he had the opportunity to wrestle this Wyatt Hal dude. And it was like, this Wyatt Hal dude was outmatched by this Big O guy. Big O, he's got lack of experience when it comes to wrestling, period. He learned later on, but he was just built like a professional wrestler. You can tell his bodybuilder looks. And wrestling building, like I said, he's still new at this. He's been wrestling just for about 2 or 3 years. As long as I've been watching the Z2 story. About 2 years or so. Or about a year and a half or so. But Big O still got a lot to learn, but still. He looked pretty good, pretty strong out there, overpowering Wyatt Hal. Despite Wyatt Hal's best opportunities to do some high-flying speed moves, his speed was too quick or so to counter the power of the Big O. And he used the power game to his leverage with some decent moves, landing with a quick power slam and a 1-2-3 victory for the Big O. Even if he wins, it's up to the Gut Check judges next week to say which one of these two will be the one to be voted on. So, because sometimes the loser does be the one to be chosen to see who would be judged upon. But in my mind, Big O, he showed a lot more potential than this Wyatt Hal. The Wyatt Hal guy, he played the national anthem on the guitar. Was it lip synced or not? Who knows? Maybe it was a wireless plug, but Wyatt Hal didn't show me much in that ring. He just got pummeled. He tried some great offense, but Big O coming in like a powerhouse. That's what he is, a powerhouse. Apparently, Wyatt Hal was in the O-Zone, and he couldn't get out of the O-Zone. It's the Big O. So the Big O making a TNA Gut Check match, getting the victory. We'll see if he's the one to be judged upon next week in Vegas. Yes, they're shooting the Vegas episode on Saturday because they don't want to do a live episode on the 4th. So there you go. Now, on with our next matchup, which was for the Knockouts Championship, Velvet Sky. Finally, thought she was medically cleared. Finally, after weeks of excuses for Mickie James trying to get out of the match using the knee injury as an excuse, finally got the rematch with, like I said, Mickie James taking on Velvet Sky. Mickie tried to get the excuse one last time. But indeed, Velvet, all angry and frustrated for having to wait so long for this rematch, finally got her hands all over Mickie James, coming in with vengeance, revenge, whatever term you want to use, payback on her mind, coming in with an angry rage, spearing the hell out of Mickie James when she wasn't looking, and Velvet had the advantage for the early half of the matchup, going on pure adrenaline and frustration. But indeed, unfortunately, Velvet's knee is still a target. And indeed, it was a big target for Mickie James. as of course the knee was a big target for Mickie, nailing the knee every chance she can get to weaken Velvet Sky. But really, basically the same way she won the championship. Basically targeting the knee and weakening the knee and trying to get the victory. But despite the knee hurting Velvet, Velvet tried to fight back, fighting hard. And unfortunately, she's out to use her knees. She used some moves that hurt her knee worse, doing her Kawana moves and all that. Unfortunately, weakened her knee even further. But indeed, Mickie tried every chance she can get, every cheap shot at the knee to get the cheap victory. But indeed, Velvet kept on pushing, even trying to get the in your face. Until indeed, Mickie weakened the knee even more with a big kick before getting the knee into a submission hold like a knee lock. And unfortunately, the pain in the knee was too hard for Velvet to fight back. Velvet had no other choice but to tap out to that knee lock that Mickie put on her, so Mickie James retained the Knockout Championship. But unfortunately, Velvet, who feels as embarrassed as Caitlyn, but not as much, because Velvet kind of feels embarrassed in this case because Velvet had to fight her way back from this knee injury. She has a knee injury for months, storyline or not. And she finally got a rematch against Mickie, and unfortunately, she thought the knee was fully recovered, and unfortunately, the knee basically gave out on her again, being clipped many times by Mickie James, and unfortunately costing her the matchup with too much pain for the knee. And Velvet cried her eyes out as she was talking to Christy and overcoming an emotion that she lost her rematch. She's been fighting for this rematch for so long after being cheered out of the championship with the cheap knee lock for Mickie James, starting the heel turn. And unfortunately for Velvet, she lost this matchup due to that knee again. But I hope Velvet, storyline, I hope she goes back and gets her knee more healthier. Because the knee basically was a problem yet again. It helped Mickie James get the victory. Storyline or not. So there you go. Who will face Mickie next? It could be the winner of the ladder match between Gail Kim and Taryn Terrell, which will take place in Vegas next week. So we'll see how that goes. That's probably going to be the new number one contender for the Knockouts Championship. Speaking of number one contenders, who will be the number one contender for the championship? Not next week, but the number one contender for the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. Of course, the BFG series is going on. And of course, we had two matches of that series tonight. The first match would involve the leader of the points with 10 points, Magnus. And with 0 points thus far, want to get himself on the leaderboard. Former 2011 winner of the BFG series, Bobby Roode, who got eyed on Sting, who was kind of eyed on by Sting and Angle, kind of teasing that Roode was going to be the new member of Main Event Mafia. But it wasn't to be. Well, Roode could fit the credentials, because Roode is a former world champion. And Roode would have been great. In my mind, well, Roode was part of Fortune. So we have to see Bobby Roode, a former Mortal member and Fortune member, to join the Main Event Mafia. That would be kind of cool and weird at the same time. But indeed, Magnus is indeed came on a roll with, of course, his strength. Indeed, taking the advantage for him in the early half until, of course, Bobby Roode, the sly, conniving, smart, it factor that he is, found an opening and indeed dominated for the later half of the matchup with some slow, technical wrestling moves, some chin locks, trying to weaken Magnus and put him down on the ground to overpower that strength and power of Magnus that he indeed got. He even tried the spine buster at least once or twice. But indeed, Magnus tried fighting back, including delivering his big elbow move. And I thought that was over after that big elbow, and then Roode kicked out. But then, of course, that's when Roode did counter with the spine buster and was going for his fisherman suplex move. But indeed, Magnus came flying back, countering, and then getting a big scoop slam and the victory for Magnus, getting him 7 points. That means Magnus leads with 17 points. Now, I think Magnus is getting a big push here. I think ever since Magnus came back in March, when he came back in March in the Impact that was taped in the UK, before Impact went live full time out of the Impact Zone, like Magnus came. I think Magnus is finally getting a big push. I think his first big singles push. I know he's been a former World Tag Team Champion, multiple World Tag Team Champion with the British Invasion, with Douglas Williams, and also Samoa Joe. I think was he a former TV champion? I know he wasn't X Division. Doug Williams was X Division, but he never. I think it was television. But I think Magnus is getting a big push, and he's showing more charisma. I think he's more. I think he's gotten better. You know, he's getting a big push, and I think Magnus is the one to beat right now. You know, he's on a wall and he looks pretty good. He's got the crowd on his side finally, and he's got decent charisma. I think he's finally worked out the kinks in his character. Now he's finally on his way to a big push, especially getting the early lead in the BFG series. So there you go. Magnus getting 7 points following the 10-point submission last week. Speaking of a man who last year was the main favorite of the BFG series until losing the BFG series, thanks to a little screw job from the man who lost tonight, Wood, who's now 0-2 in the series, still not getting any points for being a former winner. Of course, James Storm came out with his tag team champion partner, Gunner, coming out saying that we are the tag team champions and no one can beat us. Nobody tough has shown their face, especially new teams. Like I've said in past weeks on Impact Wrestling Reviews, the tag team division in TNA is dead. Need to make some new teams. I didn't mean to make the team of bromance. I mean douchebags. I mean YBE and Jesse Goddard. Now Jesse Goddard, I have nothing against him. You know, I have nothing against Jesse, but YBE, I just hate him. If you see my Impact reviews, I hate two guys just because they're fucking douches and can't wrestle for shit. Of course, I'm referring to YBE and Joy Ryan. I've hated YBE from the get-go. And if you saw my reviews last year during last year's BFG series, when YBE was in it, I was like, why the fuck is YBE in it? And I'm glad he's not in it this year. So they came out with Tara back after a few weeks after getting injured by Gail Kim in the figure form. Came out saying, hey, we're the tough guys with Team Bromance. Have a bromance. And there was some botches. I think YBE, he proves why he's not a good wrestler and why he's not a good talker. He kind of flubbed the line. This trade has sailed. He kind of botched a little bit. And even Storm countered with calling about Tara, the Jesse's girlfriend, calling her a butterface. Of course, everything's good, butterface. And I think Jesse kind of botched the move and Gunner knocked out Jesse. I think Jesse kind of botched the landing somewhat. So apparently we got, speaking of number one contenders, we probably have a new number one contender for the tag championships. A new team, but a douchey team at that. Bromance, whatever they want to call themselves. Jesse and YBE probably going to challenge Storm and Gunner for the championships down the road. Either at a future Impact or hopefully not at Bound for Glory. And speaking of BFG, Bound for Glory, it's on to our second Bound for Glory series match of the night, which was Samoa Joe, who only had 2 points going into this match, following his draw against AJ Styles in a great match last week despite the draw, taking on Mr. Anderson, who went into this match with 7 points. Now, indeed, Joe was about to be on the point of killing Anderson, of course, the infamous chant. Joe's gonna kill you. Joe's gonna kill you. And indeed, Joe came in with a big strength. And, of course, the power of the Samoan submission machine. Got the advantage early on until, indeed, Anderson found a cheap way to get Joe and get the advantage for himself by dragging Joe on the outside, beating him outside the ring, dragging him to post to post, and Anderson got the advantage for the later half of the matchup. Coming in, But the Joe came flying back with his own big moves, including some more drop and a senton. Until indeed the Ace and Eights, specifically Doc, Knox, and I think it was Bischoff, I think, whoever was with them. Some of those Ace and Eights came out and surrounded the ring and tried to distract Joe. That was until Sting and Kurt Angle came in, beating up Ace and Eights at the ringside area. And Anderson tried to take advantage of that distraction with a DDT move on Joe, but Joe kicked out of that despite that distraction from Aces and Eights. Joe came flying back with his own little power slam, and then the Ace and Eights tried to distract Joe yet again as Kurt Angle fought him off. And with that distraction, Anderson was trying to nail the mic check on Joe in the midst of that distraction. That was until Anderson got caught in the Lakita clutch. And Joe got the submission victory, getting himself 10 points. Slamming Samoa Joe has advanced himself to second place with 12 points. Next to Magnus's first place, 17 points. Ironic that they're former tag team partners. Now, like I said, Main Event Mafia members Angle and Sting came out to help Joe out, getting Ace and Eights out after trying to distract Joe during the matchup. Well, indeed, Joe is the newest member of the Main Event Mafia, the newest member of the new Main Event Mafia. Now, this same exact week, back in 2009, it was, of course, June 21st, 2009, when Joe joined the Main Event Mafia during the King of the Mountain match, when he gave Kurt Angle the belt instead of nailing him with it at Slammiversary 09, where I was at, actually, back in 09, at the Palace of Owen Hills in Detroit. So, I was there, witnessed when Joe joined the Main Event Mafia, and it's kind of weird to have, like I said in the beginning of the video, I want new members, like, they want to make a new Main Event Mafia, get new guys who never was in the Main Event Mafia, like Austin Aries, or maybe Bobby Roode. Both of those guys would have been great additions. But Samoa Joe, a guy who has been Main Event Mafia, okay, fine. You got veteran members. You got 3 veteran members, 3 former members, 2 originals, and 1 who came in later. Can we please get new blood in the new Main Event Mafia, please? You know, I like the members and all, but come on, we need new meat. People who have never been in Main Event Mafia before. So there you go. We'll see if any new members, and I do emphasize the new members of the new Main Event Mafia, come next week and the next weeks to come, as the war between TNA Ace and Eights continue. Now on to our last segment, which involves the unmasking of Suicide. Now, Hulk Hogan called them out, of course, saying that Suicide, the man who cheated to win the championship tonight, if you don't unmask yourself, you will forfeit the X Division Championship. You'll be stripped of it. But it's more. As the Suicide Man was about to unmask, here comes Bully Ray, the man that would have the chance to face whoever would be the X Division Champion, like Austin Aries did last year. So Bully Ray came out saying, I want to know who you are, man. Nah, I don't want to know. You're the guy that beat Chris Sabin because Chris Sabin was scared of me. Even though Chris Sabin never got pinned. Of course, Kenny King did in the matchup. But indeed, he wants the man to go away and walk away and avoid a beatdown from Bully Ray and a future title shot. But then Suicide finally spoke a little bit about being in the darkness. And I said to myself, like I said during the review, I said during the evening I had some clues to myself. I was looking at, I was like guessing who it was. And I didn't read spoilers because this was taped a few weeks ago. I didn't read spoilers. I said to myself, what if Suicide ends up being Austin Aries? A big clue was when Suicide, came out and did the Austin Aries pose when Hogan called him out. So kind of a clue that I could be right. And I was right. It was Austin Aries, because when Suicide said, I'm the man who has beaten you before, I'm like, uh-oh, it's Aries. And then he's like, I'm the man who invented cashing in the X Division Championship for the title shot. He unmasked himself. So now, Suicide is Austin Aries. That means Austin Aries is basically the X Division champion. And for the second year in a row, Austin Aries has the opportunity to cash in the X Division championship and give it up for a shot at the World Championship like he did last year. He was one that basically made it happen. Of course, he was one that cashed in the X Division championship to become World Champion, beating his future tag team championship partner, Bobby Roode. So, I bet you Ace and Ace is probably like, what the heck? He just won because he cheated. He stole a suicide suit, and now he's the champion. And he gets to face Bully Ray in 3 weeks. At the Destination X Impact to be held in Louisville, Kentucky. On my dad's birthday, by the way. So there you go. Suicide is Austin Aries. But Austin Aries, like I said, like this whole unmasking suicide thing would have been great a long time ago. If the real person, like we would never know who was the real suicide, who really played him, but when it comes to the storyline, enhancing it, at least we, like this version of suicide got unmasked, and the storyline it was Austin Aries winning it as suicide, and of course getting ready to cash in the X Division Championship for a second shot at the World Championship, a beat against a man who he has beaten on the way to the X Division Champion, like he was X Division Champion at the time, when he faced Bully Ray. It was before the cash-in happened, but still, Aries is basically face again, like he was against Bully Ray the first time, last year, before he was World Champion. So see how this goes in the next couple weeks to come. Will Austin Aries lose the championship before Destination X to save it again? Or will he keep the championship before Destination X and cash it in for the shot against Bully Ray? Time will tell. That is it for my TNA Impact review for tonight. I'll see you all later. With that in mind, you better act by the review from Zach. Thank you all very much for watching. Everybody have a great night and have a great weekend. It's gonna go out there in those hot areas, especially here in Michigan. Well, it stormed today, but anyway, it's been hot. Thank you very much. See you later. Yeah.